Hello, welcome to stage 42 where we will be fitting 5 vertebra. So I have the parts for this issue. I also have the model so far because we will be working in this area, so it's all nice and ready. So the parts that we have 3 sizes of vertebra, and we have a smaller one. I'm not 100% sure which is which until I compare them. We have a medium one which looks exactly the same. That's actually larger, so that's going to be the smallest or the medium. And then we have the largest one. I can tell this is the largest. Look, that's not hard to spot, is it? So that's the largest one. And then the last thing we have is the spinal cord, and this is like a telescopic, what do you call it, like one of these boom arms you can get where you can position it in whatever position you want. I actually have something very similar that I use for my camera. Obviously you can't see it, but it's very useful in various applications. Trying not to disturb the camera, but as part of my boom arm I have this light, and it just works exactly the same way. Many of you might actually be using a small tripod for webcams, for mobile phones, anything like that. So you'll probably be well aware of this kind of principle. So let's have a look at stage 1. And I notice there's no screws in this build, there's no gluing, no nothing. So this is probably going to be one of the simplest issues that we ever do. So we need to take piece number 3, which is the largest of the vertebra pieces, and then we need to position the medium one, which is piece number 2, on top of that. Now there is like a little rounded bit there, and there's like a housing there for it, and what we're going to do is we're going to place that in there like so. So it's going to create a pivot. So it doesn't quite fit, but it tilts from side to side. You know when it's in properly because it's not going to move side to side, forwards or back. And then probably quite predictable, stage 2 is to take the piece number 1, and it does state, note that the fit is not tight, there is wobble room between the vertebra. But it doesn't wobble side to side, it only wobbles forwards, backwards. This is obviously to give it some movement in the spinal cord. So then we take this piece, number 1, exactly the same. We want to get that in. We want it to wobble forwards and backwards, but not side to side. So if we don't quite get it in right, you can see it doesn't look right, it doesn't feel right. You will know when it's there. And there we go. So the next stage, step 3, we want to take piece 41.6. So that's these 2 pieces that are left over from last week's build. And now you can see a similarity between the pieces. So as before, we're just placing that onto there. So we want that wobble, not side to side, and we can't move it about. So can you see that as we've now put the 4 together, we're now beginning to get this snake-like spinal cord that moves just like a spine would. And then you guessed it, step number 4, we want to take piece 41.5, and exactly like before, although these aren't exactly the same looking pieces, it's the same principle. We pop it onto there, and we want that forwards and backwards wobble, but not sideways. And that's step 5 complete. The 5 vertebrae are now assembled with the smallest on the top. So it might seem daft to say this, but have a little look. Make sure it does actually make a triangular pattern. If it doesn't, you might have them in the wrong order. The bottom 4 pieces do all look identical, but just different sizes. And then while you've got it, we can move on to step 6, which is to take this this rod, and I'm going to put this down just so I can describe this a bit more. So we need to take the spinal cord piece number 4. Note that one end has a narrower cuff than the other. So see if I can So if you compare these side by side, you can see that this one's much larger than this one. So this is the smaller cuff, and I've got to turn a page now. So step 7, we're going to place, I think we might want to just lift this up. So we need to get some kind of box, I don't know, maybe for example the box that the parts came in, and we can just prop that up like that. That will give us a bit more space to work with, and this wants to go onto there. Now I have noticed that there's like this slit, and then on there's a little marking, and I think that's going to go in like that, and if that does, then that looks incorrect to me. So right, okay, so I can see what's going to happen now. So this actually moves. I think it should move. So yeah, so this is supposed to have movement, but it's not. So I would suspect the reason it doesn't have movement is because maybe these are on too tight. So it's actually clamped those in really hard. So I'm just going to undo those, maybe just a quarter of a turn, and then I can just use this one piece just to see if we've got any movement. We're just starting to now, but I'm not happy with the amount of movement, so I'm going to give that another quarter turn. So I actually said there was no screwdrivers involved in this, and it looks like I was incorrect. So right, that's still very stiff, but I'm actually very happy with that. So these pieces are going to go on like so, and that looks like it's not going on properly. So there we go. They are quite awkward to hold because they're not attached in. And then what we want to do, fit to the top end of the spinal cord. So I'm going to do a little dry fit. So what's going to happen is obviously we'll have the pieces of spinal cord there, but we're just going to pop that in, and then we're going to tighten that up like so. And I noticed that this bottom piece, let me show you by taking this out. So this bottom piece has flattened edges. So if we do struggle to tighten that, we could get, for example, our flat nose close pliers, and we can hold it like that, and we can turn it that way. But we'll see how it goes. So let's pop this on. Oops, that's come off. No, it hasn't. Right, so coming up through the middle of this one, and we may need to manipulate this a bit, because if it's not exactly flat, we're going to struggle to get it in. So that's connected, but it's not tightened. We're actually not going to really need pliers, I don't think. So we'll just keep turning that as far as it will go, and there is room for that to move. I wonder if that will sort itself out later on. So let's pick this getting heavy beast up. So now we have a spinal cord, and as you can see, because of this, we can move it. But now we are still early stages, so it's very tempting to say, well, that's quite awful. But I think, to be honest with you, I think that will sort itself out once we start adding things this end. But other than that, that stage 42 is complete, and I really like that. I'm very, very happy with that. So yeah, so that's stage 42, and I hope to catch you in the next episode, episode 43, which should be along shortly.